when Marvel Comics spoiled a major death in Devil's Reign, their big event that's going on right now in Daredevil Woman Without Fear #3. People were upset. They rolled their eyes like, why must you spoil events from a comic book that's supposed to be important next week, that a lot more people are reading the Daredevil Woman Without Fear? Now DC Comics have also spoiled a major death in their big event that's coming up that actually starts this coming week. We're getting the first 2 chapters of Trial of the Amazons, the big Wonder Woman event. First big Wonder Woman event in a few decades. DC Comics sent out some preview pages for Nubia and the Amazons #6. It essentially spoils the hook for the comic book. How does this happen? I don't know. This, in my opinion, is editorial and marketing malpractice. You guys have to talk to each other. They need to say, hey, let's not spoil something that's a major selling point or supposed to be the major selling point of the event. This is the catalyst, essentially, of the Trial of the Amazons, which I have heard compared behind the scenes favorably, their words, not mine, to the Trial of Magneto, which happened in X-Men from Leah Williams. I do not think that portends good things. I am going to review the first 2 chapters of Trial of the Amazons tomorrow on the channel. Probably the last time you hear me review any of that again. Just a hunch. And now let's get into the details of DC Comics spoiling a major death that's coming up tomorrow. And I am going to spoil it myself because I have to get the information. DC Comics Wonder Woman event Trial of the Amazons is about to begin, with Dominion over Themyscira at stake. Before all the action, however, Wonder Woman and her Themysciran sisters are set to experience a major death that shakes up the big event from the beginning. I have certainly covered the details that we do know about Trial of the Amazons up to now. It's going to be fronted by Michael Conrad, Becky Cloonan, Vita Ayala, Stephanie Williams, Joelle Jones, and Jordi Belair. Not a solid comic book writer among them, so this event really is already sitting behind the 8 ball. The selling point is that it's a Wonder Woman event. It's not the creators because they didn't bring a well-known writer on board. There's one well-known artist, Joelle Jones, who's also going to be doing some writing, but she's not going to be illustrating a vast majority of the series. So people are coming to the dance for the Wonder Woman event and the big death that is going to set things off. A new preview of Nubia and the Amazons #6, part 2 of Trial of the Amazons, reveals a significant member of the Amazons will be tragically murdered by an unknown assailant, throwing the island into disarray while holding back the vile forces of Doom's doorway that threaten to break free. Nubia, the current queen of Themyscira, must lead the charge in tracking down the killer as well as maintain peace and order among Themyscira's tribes. There's been a murder on Themyscira and the killer is still on the loose. The official synopsis reads, now it's up to Nubia to play diplomat and detective as the other Amazon tribes are called in for questioning. Can she keep the peace long enough for the contest to happen? She must, because Doom's doorway stands unguarded until a new champion is found. There's no reason to spoil something like this literally days before the event kicks off unless you have zero faith that Wonder Woman can carry the event herself. Obviously, we've had Nubia and the Amazons, we've had Yara Flor, who will play major parts in the event, but they're not really sellers. Wonder Woman, while not an A-list seller like a Batman or a Superman or a Spider-Man, still is a comic book character that in theory, and as recently as 3 years ago, could sell a comic book on her own, and certainly with their correct creative staff, would sell a lot of copies of an event book starring Wonder Woman. Unfortunately, they got the wrong creative staff, and this feels like they are petrified that this thing is going to tank massively. That's really the only explanation you can come up for, revealing the catalyst for the event that kicks off only a few days before, to send out essentially preview pages spoiling what is essentially the big cliffhanger. Yes, I've actually already seen this comic book. It is the very last page in Trial of the Amazons #1 when you actually see what happens, and obviously the fallout is in Nubia the Amazons #6, the last in that limited series, which is obviously a part of Trial of the Amazons. I'm not surprised that sales and interest in this series aren't very good. When I say not very good, I imagine it will sell. It is an event comic from DC that they have put some marketing behind that stars one of the Trinity. But I guarantee you it's not selling like they anticipated. They probably thought this wouldn't be like a major seller like a Batman miniseries or Batman crossover, but something just under it, maybe like a Superman event would do. While the preview description shrouds the murder in mystery, early images for the forthcoming second part of Trial of the Amazons disclose the identity of the murdered Amazon. As the image shows, she is none other than Hippolyta, one of Themyscira's most beloved queens and Wonder Woman's own mother, Hippolyta, is seen resting peacefully at the base of a great statue while other Amazons pay their respects and prepare to send their former queen into the afterlife. I do not find the reveal of this death shocking whatsoever, even before I read it myself. Who are they really going to kill? They're not going to kill Wonder Woman, Diana Prince. She's the only character in the whole Themyscira lore and Wonder Woman line that can actually sell a comic book. They're not going to kill Nubia. They just elevated her to queen, and they're putting some marketing muscle, whatever you want to call it. They are trying to elevate Nubia as a character. Certainly not going to kill Yara Flor. That wouldn't mean anything. The character is brand new. They just canceled the damn book anyway. So who else were they going to kill? Obviously, Hippolyta was the one. At this point, with all the decisions that DC Comics had made within the Wonder Woman lore, she was actually kind of a nuisance. You have Nubia as the new queen of Themyscira. You certainly can't put Hippolyta back there because then you'd be downgrading Nubia, who they want to make important. Wonder Woman just returned from Valhalla and certainly needs to be Wonder Woman again. Hippolyta was Wonder Woman in the Justice League series. The only other character that they could have actually killed in this thing to set off anything important that make people care about it would be Donna Troy, and they might as well have already killed that character off with the way that they've treated her for the last, I don't know, decade, maybe a little bit longer. It's not like they've been treating Donna Troy well. You can't kill Cassie Sandsmark. Who gives a shit? You're not going to kill Yara Flor. Who cares? No, there isn't enough buy-in to that character yet. So obviously Hippolyta was the character. If you were going to kill somebody that felt like it could matter, that actually made sense. But still, spoiling the death is stupid. They have not spoiled the manner of death, so I won't do it here myself. But I imagine that will play a major role in Trial of the Amazons moving forward. Obviously, there's going to be some type of trial by combat, and I'll be surprised when Diana Prince wins the day and is declared the new champion. Won't you be surprised? DC's Trial of the Amazons, including the death of Hippolyta, is set to change the relationship between Wonder Woman and her allies in significant, though still unknown ways. Yet, despite the cloudy details of the events still to come, one outcome of the contest has already been revealed, with Nubia crowned as the Queen of the Amazons. And though Wonder Woman's fate after the contest remains veiled, she is slated to meet a tragic fate with the Justice League in the near future. Well, let's talk about another problem that DC Comics has. Wonder Woman is literally going to die in Justice League weeks after her big event, first event in decades. Although, does anyone really believe that Diana Prince is going to be dead and she won't be starring the Wonder Woman comic, which will be released at the exact same time as Justice League and after Justice League, and when Dark Crisis is happening and they're supposedly be saving the original Justice League and Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman and Aquaman? Of course, that character won't die. DC Comics has a major continuity problem. Literally nothing matters at DC Comics. That's why you have to go out there and spoil the big death that leads into your Trial of the Amazons, because no one cares right now. No one believes in the direction of DC Comics, and most people just aren't buying what DC are selling. That's why they can't sell any character really outside of Batman and, you know, some closely related Batman characters. Otherwise, they are not moving anything, and they're certainly not moving Wonder Woman. Do I think Trial of the Amazons and the Wonder Woman issue that's associated with it will jump into the top 50 comic sales for March of 2022? Likely. I think it'll probably get into that, 40 to 50 range, maybe a little bit higher if things move really nicely and they have a lot of really cool covers that they can hawk on people and sell multiple copies of the same comic book to people that they aren't going to read, if they're lucky enough to do that. But DC Comics have put themselves in the unenviable position to really, if they want to get anything going with any of their titles outside of Batman, and even with Batman they're kind of doing this stuff, they've got to go to stunt marketing. They have to go to gimmicks just to get people into the store to buy the comic book. And it's almost never for the story. Now that we know Hippolyta's dead, that's speculator, right? That could be a key issue in the future. They might adapt that into an animated movie or the big screen. As a diehard DC Comics fan, and yes, I am a DC Comics fan first. I like Marvel and I like DC, but DC's my ride or die. It would be Valiant, but they only had like a 5 or 6 year run where it was absolutely fantastic. Although the original stuff with Shooter was good too, but DC has always been the home to the most characters that I really like, that I'm really attached to see it in this type of shape where you're releasing an event that's only going to tarnish the image of Wonder Woman and make people believe that Wonder Woman can't sell an event on her own, which it probably has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with the current state of DC Comics and the abysmal roster of creators that they've put on this comic book event series. Like, come on. Clunrad, Vita Ayala, Stephanie Williams, Stephanie Phillips, they aren't moving any comic books unless Joelle Jones is the primary artist. You know, she's not moving anything either. She's not a good writer, and that's unfortunate. I have already covered the Trial of the Amazons in full, and I have predicted that this is a failure, a massive failure waiting to happen. If you haven't seen this video and checked out the full details behind Trial of the Amazons, definitely check this out. Get prepared, because I will be reviewing the first 2 chapters of Trial of the Amazons right here on the channel tomorrow night. Likely the last you're going to hear of it, unless something really stupid happens again.